I've mentioned before that recently I've started working as a substitute school teacher. And in that capacity, I've been seeing a lot of movies because quite often the assignment is to play such and such a movie for the kids. And the latest movie I've seen in that capacity is Ruby Bridges, which I had never heard of before, the movie that is. But it turns out that this was a made-for-TV movie by the Disney company, shown on ABC television, which was owned by Disney, or I think still is owned by Disney, back in 1998. It is currently available, I believe, on Disney Plus and can also be viewed on Hulu. So this is a movie about the historical Ruby Bridges. And if you don't know the story, Ruby Bridges was 6 years old in 1960. She was in, I believe, New Orleans. And she was the first girl to desegregate that school system. So, the South in America in the 1960s had segregated schools. They were beginning to desegregate, and so Ruby was the first African American to go to the white school. And because of the racial tensions at that time, she had to be escorted by federal policemen. And there is a famous painting, you've probably seen it, of little 6-year-old Ruby Bridges walking in between two guards. It was a Norman Rockwell painting. So that's Ruby Bridges. It was interesting watching this movie. I actually thought I knew this story, but as I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking to myself, wait, this isn't right. It's only Ruby, but there's supposed to be 8 more children in this desegregation campaign. And then I went to Wikipedia and I looked it up, and I had gotten mixed up the story of Ruby Bridges with the story of the Little Rock Nine. So, the Little Rock Nine is also a similar story of desegregation. In this case, there were 9 children, and that had taken place a few years earlier. So I just thought I'd throw that out there in case anyone else out there had mixed those two events up in their minds. Little Rock Nine, I think, was 1957. Ruby Bridges was 1960. But what made Ruby Bridges' story different is the Little Rock Nine had 9 students. In Ruby's case, it was just Ruby. And the movie talks about this, why it was just one kid. Apparently there were other students who initially were signed up to do it, but their parents pulled them out for fear of their safety. So it ended up just only being Ruby, one little 6-year-old girl going through this ordeal. And in the movie and in the actual history, she is being escorted by these, I think they're called federal marshals, past these angry crowds who are yelling at her, cursing her, trying to get at her, and they have to have guards every day to ensure her safety, walking her in and out of the school. So a very tumultuous time, I guess, a lot of high-charged emotions, and that's the historical background to this movie. Now, this movie, and again, I had never seen this before. I saw it when I was substitute teaching. It's a Disney made-for-TV movie from the 1990s, and it's a little bit cheesy in parts, and it's a little bit, it's not subtle. It's not subtle at all. So you're watching this movie, and it opens up showing Ruby playing baseball with the other children on her block. And Ruby is portrayed as being this really sassy little girl who's very spunky, and it's just got like a Disney Channel-esque quality to it. Technically, it's not Disney Channel. It was released on ABC by the Disney company. But it's got that very Disney Channel child actor type vibe to it. And I was watching this and I was cringing a little bit. And I'm thinking, oh, is the whole movie going to be like this? But the whole movie is not like that. The characters are a little bit over the top at the beginning, but they settle into their roles as the movie goes on. The movie, like I said before, it's not subtle. So it's one of those movies where a lot of characters give big speeches, and there's a lot of big acting, and it reminds me of a lot of similar movies or TV shows I saw when I was a kid about racism, where everything just seems like over the top. And when I was a kid and I used to watch those movies, I used to think, oh wow, this is what racist people are really like. Then as I got a little bit older and you start to get a little bit critical, you start to think to yourself, was it really like that? Or are these movies just over the top to make a point? And maybe the racism in the South in the 1960s wasn't so cartoonishly hateful and vile. Maybe there was a little bit more subtlety or ambiguity to it. But then you go to Wikipedia and you look this stuff up, and it all happened. I mean, you know, there really were those crowds yelling at the 6-year-old girl every day as she went into the school. That kind of vile, over-the-top hatred was really there, apparently. Even though it does kind of, you know, you watch this and you think, oh, people can't really be like that. People aren't really that hateful, are they? But yeah, apparently. You know, I guess this is an ongoing question about how much of that has been eradicated in our society since that time, and how much of that is still around now today. So what's interesting about this movie is it's not just the first day of school. The movie follows Ruby Bridges throughout the whole year and the developments that happen throughout the whole year. And that's a story that I bet most people don't know. So, for example, when Ruby starts the school year, all the other parents pull their kids out of the school so that they won't have to study with a black kid. So Ruby's got the school all to herself for, I don't know, several weeks, months. Eventually that strike is broken by a white Methodist minister who one day walked his daughter to school with Ruby. And as they show in the movie, he approaches Ruby, and the federal marshals immediately panic and try and block him. And he says, "I'm just trying to take my daughter to school." And then they realize that he is just taking his daughter to school. And, you know, again, you check Wikipedia, and that seems to have been the way it happened. So, now, somebody better informed than me will have to do an in-depth analysis of how exactly historically accurate this movie is. I just went with the Wikipedia page. But according to the Wikipedia page, it seems to line up fairly well. The only things I noticed were in the movie, her father is a mechanic. According to Wikipedia, her father was a gas station attendant. According to Wikipedia, the stress of this whole ordeal ended up causing her parents to get a divorce, which is not shown in the movie. In the movie, her parents have some conflicts, but get past it, and by the end of the movie, they are still a happily married couple. To be fair, though, I don't know exactly when her parents got divorced. The Wikipedia article doesn't say exactly when, and I was searching for it on Google, couldn't find a quick answer for it. I didn't do in-depth research for this. I just did a very surface level Google search. But yeah, anyways. I think the big problem with this movie is that the motivation for the parents wanting Ruby to go to the white school is not clearly given, or at least it's not clearly given at the beginning of the movie. So Ruby is shown enjoying herself with her neighborhood friends. Head of the NAACP comes over and talks to Ruby's mom about Ruby attending the white school, and I guess the reason is because Ruby's grades are so good. I don't know. I guess integration was based on grades at that time, or maybe they just wanted to make examples with the very best students at the time. And then most of that conversation is off camera. We just, we see the conversation wrapping up. And then the mother has decided to send Ruby to the white school. And throughout the movie, some of the people around the mother are questioning the judgment. Like, why would you put your child through that? And yeah, that is quite a thing to put a child through. I mean, obviously, it was a good thing ultimately, resulted in progress. But, for a 6-year-old girl to be subjected to that much harassment from the crowd day in and day out for a year, for a 6-year-old, is quite something. So, I kind of wish that the movie would have focused a little bit more on, like, the reason why the parents decided to go through this. Like, we could have had some, like, background with the parents. We could have seen how they were upset about racism, seen how they were upset about the school system, seen how strongly they believed in integration, etc. At least for the mom. Because the dad is actually not fully on board with this as the mom is, as depicted in the movie. But we don't seem to get that strong motivation from the mother. It's one of those historical movies that relies on you just inferring the motivation. So, like, you're like, all right, it's the civil rights movement, black people want equal rights, I know what the motivation is. And you're just supposed to kind of bring that in from your external knowledge, or you're just supposed to assume that everybody's motivated to kind of sacrifice for equal rights during this era. But I thought it was a little bit of a weak point that motivation wasn't clearly shown, at least in the beginning. As the movie goes on, the mother gives a few speeches about why she thinks integration is important, but the speeches are a little bit hollow, in my opinion. I'll come back to that in a moment. But all that being said, admittedly, I think it would have been difficult to fit that setup into the beginning of the movie without Yeah, it would have been difficult to write that into the movie smoothly. Because you don't want the movie to be all about Ruby's mother. You want the focus to be on Ruby. I get that there would have been some obstacles to including that backstory there. So like I said before, this is one of those movies where the characters will stand up and give a lot of speeches, and it's a bit over the top the way it's done. But the thing that I reminded myself of when I was watching this movie is that this movie was not for me. This was not a movie aimed at adults. This was a movie aimed at children. So it's going very broad. It's a movie that doesn't trust you to pick up on anything subtle. If there is something that this movie wants to show you, it's going to have a character giving a speech, saying exactly what that character is thinking at this moment in time, and I think it works for that audience. Now, what the ideal audience for this movie would be is, I don't know. I would think upper elementary school, ideally. So like maybe 4th grade, 5th grade, I think maybe would be the ideal audience for this movie. Doing a search for this movie reveals that a couple years ago, it got some controversy because it was being shown to 2nd graders in Florida. And one of the parents objected because she said it wasn't fair to subject 2nd graders to that kind of stuff. And she said the movie gave the impression that all white people were hateful, was the parent complaint. And because of the parent complaint, it ended up with the movie not being shown to children in that school for the rest of the school year. Which was apparently because of one of Florida's laws that parents have the right to challenge anything in the class. And so there's a whole debate about the politics of that. So without getting into that whole debate, I suppose it's worth noting just as a side note that the movie does not portray all white people as hateful. Ruby's teacher is shown to be is a white woman who is very devoted to Ruby. There's also a psychiatrist, I don't remember which, Robert Cole, who is working with Ruby to maintain that she has good mental health during this time. Somebody who volunteered to do that. Played by Kevin Pollak. Kevin Pollak is, I was about to say he's a famous movie star, but he's more of a minor famous movie star. But he's in A Few Good Men and The Usual Suspects, and he's a recognizable face, or at least he certainly was at the time that this movie was made in the 90s. And it's another thing where I thought, oh, okay, they're just creating this for the sake of having a good white character and maybe getting Kevin Pollak in the movie, some star power here. But you go to Wikipedia, you look it up, and it all happened. That character that Kevin Pollak is portraying, Robert Cole, really did work with Ruby Bridges. So movie is following the real history there. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted here. The original point being that although the movie is a little bit over the top at times, I think if you keep in mind that it's aimed at children and that it's got a message that it wants to make sure that children absorb, and it's aimed at children's sensibilities and child's lack of subtlety, then I think a lot is excusable. I mean, for an adult critiquing this movie, then yeah. The actors mostly do a good job. The actor who is playing Ruby's father is very good in some scenes. He's very good as kind of like the cool dad, the joking around dad. He's a charismatic and likable actor, but there are a couple scenes when he's fighting with his wife in which he is supposedly crying, breaking down into tears over his emotions. And it's very obvious that the actor portraying him at the time cannot actually convincingly cry on camera, or maybe wasn't given proper direction, one or the other. But it's very obvious that it's fake stage crying and not real crying. So yeah, those kind of scenes are a little bit weak. For the most part, it works. A fair amount of the emotions in this movie seem to be based off of just how cute and adorable little Ruby Bridges is, and how awful it is that such a cute little girl is subjected to all this hatred. And yeah, you watch that and you think to yourself, okay, this is a little bit of a manipulation here. Because, I mean, obviously it would be awful no matter what. But the fact that they're deliberately playing up adorable little Ruby being subjected to all this heartlessness just makes you feel all the more for her, or makes the audience feel like they want to protect this cute little girl all the more. It's emotional manipulation because it would be an injustice even if Ruby wasn't cute. Even if it was played by a girl who was a little bit less spunky or a little bit less adorable, it wouldn't have changed the injustice of it. So seems to me that playing up on how cute she is playing on the audience's sympathies in a way that's playing to the emotions rather than to the sense of justice. But then that's what movies do, isn't it? So maybe fair enough. I think, all that being said, it is a movie that's hard to watch without getting a little bit teary-eyed at times. Thinking about how sweet and innocent that young Ruby Bridges girl was, and all the awful things that she was subjected to, all the awful things that people would yell at her, the death threats that she would get, just the vile hatred directed at her. It's a movie that's trying to go for your heartstrings, and I think at times it gets there. You watch this and you do feel your throat tighten up a little bit watching this. So now, again, from an adult perspective, I don't think the movie sustains that note, because the movie from one scene to another will go from something very emotionally touching, and then it'll swing to something very cheesy. But those moments are there when you watch the movie. So to conclude, I think this is a great movie for an audience perhaps of 9, 10, 11-year-olds, right in that age range, to teach them about this historical period. So despite the fact that it was banned in a Florida elementary school because a parent objected to it, it's a perfect movie to show to elementary school age kids, maybe not second grade, but definitely fourth and fifth graders. This would be very, very good movie to educate them on this time period.